Today, we're going to be talking about where to use hand traps against three of the most popular engines currently in Master Duel: Fiendsmith, Azamina, and Millennium. Let's start with the most popular of the three by far, which is Fiendsmith. If you're holding Ash Blossom and they begin their turn with Engraver from hand, it's best to use Ash Blossom against it, as it represents full combo for any deck playing Fiendsmith. If you wait to use Ash Blossom against Requiem, they'll just get to use their graveyard effects to still get bodies. If they lead with Tract or Normal Summon Luri, you should wait to use Ash Blossom against their deck's main combo line, since Tract and Luri currently don't represent full Fiendsmith combo alone. Note that this will change with follow-up Fiendsmith support. Next up is Veiler and Imperm. If all you have is an effect Veiler, you could consider using it against Sequence. However, your opponent may choose to use Engraver and Tract's graveyard effects to perform a fusion summon anyway. For this reason, you could also make an argument for saving it to use against their deck's main combo line. Imperm is a little bit different. Unlike Effect Veiler, which goes directly to the graveyard, Imperm is activated on the field. This means it could be negated by Desiree, which could be summoned by Sequence. For this reason, it's generally correct to Imperm the Sequence if they begin their turn with Fiendsmith cards. Droll and Lockbird is highly effective against Fiendsmith, since they can't use Tract after they search it off of Engraver, and they won't be able to use any of their deck's main searchers afterward either. If you have a Nibiru, it's probably best to save it for their deck's main combo line. The odds of them going into Caesar or Appaloosa off of their Fiendsmith cards are much lower than them going into Beatrice setup plays or Desiree, which cannot negate Nibiru since Nibiru is not activated on the field. When activating Cashier Unicorn's effect to banish a card face down from the extra deck, it's generally best to banish Requiem, since that makes the rest of the engine difficult, if not impossible, to use. Do note that if all you're holding is one hand trap, it's highly unlikely you're going to be able to stop a Fiendsmith deck's combo with that one hand trap alone. With proper timing, however, that one hand trap can still severely weaken their end board, thus making it easier to play through. Next up is Millennium, which is quickly becoming one of the more popular engines in Master Duel. If you have Ash Blossom, it's very effective against the Millennium cards, as it allows you to stop Sengenjin and Golem from summoning themselves, as well as their respective search effects. If your opponent begins their turn with the Millennium cards, you should use Ash Blossom against them to force them to have follow-up plays in their hand, or in case you're actually playing against a dedicated Millennium/Exodia deck. If you're holding Effect Veiler and Infinite Permanence, then unfortunately these cards aren't too useful against the Millennium engine, since they activate their effects from their spell trap zone, where they are treated as continuous spell cards. You should save these negates for whatever follow-up plays your opponent has for their deck's main combo line. However, it's worth noting that if they use their Millennium engine to make number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, you will not get much use out of Effect Veiler, since Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord can negate a monster effect. It's worth noting that the Millennium engine is most often used to set up the Fiendsmith engine. If not that, then, as mentioned before, number 90 to insulate further combos against hand traps from the opponent. Droll and Lockbird continues to be quite useful against not only the Millennium engine itself, but also stopping then further searches from the deck's main combo line. If you're holding Nibiru and your opponent begins their turn with the Millennium engine, the most you can really hope that they do is not go into number 90, which will of course be able to use its effect in order to negate the Nibiru. If they don't, however, Nibiru does become much more effective against your opponent, as they will have already summoned 5 times by the time they pivot into their next engine. Finally, there's Azamina, which isn't used in quite as many decks as Millennium or Fiendsmith, but still shows up often in Snake Eye and White Forest, two of the best decks in the current meta. If you are holding Ash Blossom and your opponent begins your turn by activating Deception of the Sinful Spoils and then activating its effect, using Ash Blossom against that effect is highly effective to stop them from searching Hallowed Azamina. This will force them to have follow-up plays in their hands, and since Azamina ever only plays one Hallowed Azamina, they won't be able to use that engine further because they will not have opened a copy of Hallowed Azamina. If your opponent does happen to open with both Deception of the Sinful Spoils and then Hallowed Azamina, you can simply use Ash Blossom against the Murcielago that will try to search a Sinful Spoils card. I would definitely not recommend using Ash Blossom against Wanted. If they're starting their turn by searching for Diabellstar, they're just going to use it to search Deception of the Sinful Spoils by setting it directly from the deck, and you can simply use Ash Blossom against the Deception as mentioned earlier. If you're holding Effect Veiler or Infinite Permanence and they lead with Deception of the Sinful Spoils, then you should use that against Murcielago, as this will force them to have follow-up plays directly from their hand. This is especially true if the only hand trap you're holding is one of these monster negates. If they begin their turn with Diabellstar and all you have is one Effect Veiler or Imperm, you should use it against the Diabellstar, again, to force them to have follow-up plays in the hand. If you wait to use it against Murcielago, they'll have multiple bodies on board, which will make it much easier for them to have comeback plays. As always, Drone Lockbird continues to be a great countermeasure against the Azamina engine, since they won't be able to search off the Murcielago effect after they search off of Deception. And as always, it will stop them from doing further searches with their deck's main combo line. Unfortunately, Nibiru isn't great against the Azamina engine, since they can always make Ilia Sylvia before they reach 5 summons if they open with Deception or Diabellstar. It's handy to remember that when you're playing against Snake Eye, they have to open with either Deception or Diabellstar in order to be able to make Azamina plays, whereas White Forest can use Elzette Azamina of the White Forest to search their Azamina cards later in the combo line. This is also why Snake Eye plays 3 copies of each Diabellstar and Deception, while White Forest will often only play 1 of each. As I touched on before, it's often not the case that only having one hand trap will be enough to stop your opponent from making plays when they're playing these engines, and this can be a source of frustration for many players in the meta. However, this does not mean that if you only open one hand trap, you have automatically lost the game. As mentioned before, by making effective use of your one hand trap, you can force your opponent to have follow-up plays in their hand, which will not only reduce the amount of resources if they do have those follow-up plays, but then if they don't, you will actually be able to force them to end their turn at that point. As always, it is more important to play effectively the number of hand traps you do open than worry about how many hand traps you didn't open. Hey everybody, Hexalex here. Hope you enjoyed this short and simple guide about using hand traps against these engines in the current meta. I'm definitely looking to make more content like this, so if you did enjoy this video and or you found it helpful, please definitely make sure to let me know in the comments and make sure to give it a like as well. I super appreciate the support. It definitely goes a long way, again, especially if you want to see more videos like this. I think that's going to do it for now. Thanks again for watching. Let's move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexalex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested in, you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's again free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, but more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.